isolating sounds of the surroundings, creating a symphony of this setting, compiling with years grinding, valves opening and awakening in the midst of these factories. I'm finding an uplifting formulation by shifting away from this catatonic despair. In a murky layer of dingy dust clouds I stare. I'm dreaming for a dream, for they lay obsolete. In the elongating late hours I find only a bitter sleep. The burning monotony, retracing steps thoroughly engraved. My body may be captured, but my electric soul can never be enslaved.
Right now, Magic Mike and I are sitting here with Franki Juncaj, also known as DJ 3000.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
Welcome back to Detroit.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
So you've been away for a while?
Yeah, touring.
Where?
I was last 2 months I was in Japan. So I was there from July just until about a week ago. Prior to that, I was in Europe for about 2 months as well. So I'm home until mid-October and go back on the road again.
Well, let's talk about Japan for a minute.
Yeah.
What's it like over there?
My favorite country.
It is.
By the way, yeah.
so
you can keep the U.S.
Oh, okay. So how's Detroit received over there?
Oh, man, it's huge. It's probably... electronic music is one of the biggest genres there in Japan, outside of like pop, radio stuff. And then Detroit is probably number one on electronic, on a scale, So it's huge.
So when they find out you're from Detroit, what do they say?
All kinds of love. No, it's good, and especially being from Submerge and UR and everything, though, too. It's the most respected.
You just came out with your album, Migration.
Right.
Is that what you were in Japan?
Yeah, I was touring off the album. That's what I've been doing since May.
What's your favorite track on that?
Ooh, wow. Favorite track?
All of them, right?
No, there's a couple. It just kind of depends on the vibe of it. Like, I really like the main ones is really not the songs. It's really the intros and the intro and outro on the album. Oh. Because the intro and outro explains the whole album, really, and the whole concept of the album.
It's a beautiful album.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you.
I like to play it.
I'm glad you like it. Cool.
Can you tell us the story about how you were first introduced to the Submerge family?
Yeah, it was like 95, 96. So it was only like 10 years ago that one of my friends, DJ Bone, actually was the one that introduced me to Mike. Because at that time I used to own a clothing store. So I ran a clothing store for like 5-6 years. So at that time I was selling, mixtapes, mixed CDs from people around Detroit. So I needed, Mike stuff, just like all the compilations and stuff. And my friend Bone would always go down there to get records and promos and whatnot. So I went down there with him, and that's how I met Mike. So from there, that's how I met him, and I would just go down there to get CDs and records, and Mike would give me records and
But how did you make the transition from selling clothes and records to being a musician? Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's a little gap in between there. So like really, maybe 99, 2000. Mike was asking me to come work for him, to do sales and stuff because they were moving to this building, the new 3000 Boulevard, and I was like, no, man, I got this store, I got my own hustle going on. But about a year later, he had asked me again, and then I was closing up the shop because I didn't want to do the shop anymore.
Where was this shop located?
It was in Ferndale, right next to Record Time.
Okay.
Like I got Record Time, that store next door.
Oh,
like if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have got it. You know what I mean? Like
9 Mile in Woodward.
Yeah, 9 in Woodward in Ferndale. So Mike asked me again the next time I saw him, and I was like, cool, because I just stopped working. I stopped my store. But at that time, I was kind of in between a job and what I wanted to do. So Mike Himes at Record Time was like, oh, damn, you're not working? We need a manager here. So I started working for Record Time, doing the buying for the vinyl and everything.
Because you're a DJ 3000, and you're also a producer.
Right. What
came first?
I was DJing first.
Okay.
Like, again, not that long ago, I started, like, maybe 96 is when I really started, like, DJing. I was always buying records, but that's when I started DJing. So, that's when Mike had asked me, like, once I started doing the sales, he was like, man, I know you DJ. And I just kept always flipping Mike these mix CDs. And, of course, it always had all Detroit shit usually on it, So, one time he gave it to Laurent Garnier. Used to do a radio show, so Mike would always send him records and mix CDs of like local people. And that one, and it was another person that did one. I forgot who it was, and they played that on the radio, like the entire mix CD. Like his show, he just went boom and just played that shit, like the whole hour mix. So it got a response, and then Mike was like, "Yo, man, you need to do a mix CD for us, like an official one." I said, "Cool." You know, I play all your guys' shit anyway.
Yeah.
So I went home and I just, I banged one out, and I gave it to him, and he said, "Man, what's your DJ name?" And I said, and at that time I didn't have one. I just kind of used my name because I didn't take it that serious. Like if I got a gig, I just played. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he was like, "Man, we need to get you a name," and I said, "Cool." So because then him and Ade were like, "Man, we need a name. You can't throw that name of yours on there. Can't nobody pronounce the shit anyway." You know what I mean?
Juncaj.
Yeah, so
it would be unique.
Yeah, it's unique. But he's looking at it. He said, "No, man, we need something," And I said, "All right, that's on you guys because I'm not going to come up with one." So I mean, like the next day or a couple days later, I come in and Mike and Ade were sitting on the porch. "Yo, man, we got your name." So when they said it, there was about 4 or 5 people around, like Ro and Dex and Santi and everybody's there. When he said it, it kind of hit me. I was like, "Man, DJ 3000." It kind of sounded silly to me. And he's like, "No, this is because why?" So when he said it, is because at that time we dropped my mix CD. Los Hermanos 1 came out, which was Birth of 3000.
Yeah.
And then Inspiration. So it was like that time. And then Ade dropped his record. So it was like 4 new projects right when this building was developed and done and ready to rock and start selling shit again. So then they said, your name represents the building. That's the address. And we drop in Birth of 3000, which is the birth of the building, and you can represent the whole camp.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I understand. So that's like how all that kind of developed.
And there was some great music coming out right about then, too.
Yeah, man. Those, they always drop hot stuff anyway, but like those 3 years, man, we were dropping some crazy shit. A lot of shit went over people's heads, but that music at that time was great because everybody was like, "Oh, Submerge is done. They washed up, they closed up," but they were just rebuilding this building, so nobody kind of knew what they were doing. Then all of a sudden, right out the gate was like, bang! It was just like record after record was knocking people out.
Really?
Yeah, it was like that time, man. It was actually those 3 records: the Los Hermanos record, the UR record, and an Ade's record was the sleeper out of the ones. Like so every time you play that one, everybody's always kind of like, because the other 2 shine because it's the bigger label. But Ade's did really well too at that time. So a lot of people, like even now when I play it, people are always like, "Man, what's that?" Because there's like 3 tracks on it. That's great, and you just keep flipping it.
Speaking of labels, how did you come up with Motec?
Motec was kind of funny. When I was thinking of doing a label, when Mike was like, maybe try your own label and try to, learn the ropes the hard way, like how we did, you know what I mean? So I was like, cool. So I just produced the music myself, learned the ropes, mixing that shit myself, having to cut at Ron, seeing how it's cut, picking the records up, going through the whole, like, not knowing what the hell you're doing phase, like, making the labels and doing it wrong, picking the actual 1,000 records up yourself and putting them in your little car, and, the whole...
Yeah,
get down and dirty,
And if it's a Michigan winter, they crack. And if it's a Michigan summer, they warp.
And that first record was dead in the winter too, man. But the name, it was me and my friend Sean who started the label, which he still, helps out with a lot of stuff that's involved with the label.
No. Tell us who Sean is.
Sean is just regular Sean Snell, like one of my best friend, Okay. So him and I were the ones that kind of came up with the concept of the label. But we were, because he's got an Indian background. He's from India. So our concept was like, let's bring the ethnicity into the techno, you know what I mean? Like my Albanian background, his Indian background, and, stuff like that, you know what I mean? So we were like, man, we need a name. So I just said, man, just start writing down names, and I'll write down names. We'll email each other till something pops off, right? So, man, we had about 15 names. I still got the piece of paper at home because, like, we wrote all these names out, and I was like, no, going through them. Which is funny, Renaissance was on there. Odd Days label, right? So we were thinking like Detroit stuff, everything from like, every corny thing you could think of, right? But then this
you
one...
You don't have to embarrass us.
Yeah, I can go through the titles. But then Motec, like, it was like the 5th one down or something, and I was like, boom, that's the one. He was like... It was actually my friend Sean was the one who wrote that one. And I was like, Motec. And actually, Motec, if you do the history, the name is a old automotive school from Detroit. Remember, like, Mopar used to train mechanics out of that school. So we started, digging around, like, oh man, it's Mopar and this and that, and then we tried to like, then we were gonna spin off their whole logo and all this shit. So we kind of went off the car vibe, muscle car, Detroit. So like the first couple records are a little more aggressive and hard, and when you're young and frustrated and shit, yeah, man, I'm gonna make my own music and show people, you know what I mean? So the first 2 records were tough, and then we kind of from there, like, we went from one logo to another. So we kind of ripped off like. If Mopar is listening, we ripped off a part of their logo and just kind of tweaked it and made it ours. So if you look at theirs and ours, there's kind of a resemblance, but we kind of went from there, and that's how the name came up, man.
Your aesthetic sound is special, where you mix multicultural world music. I was reading on the Detroit Digital Vinyl site and some other people that wrote about you that you have a special aesthetic for incorporating electronica with world music and multicultural. And also on the Detroit Digital Vinyl, it says that your family and community has played a major role.
For sure.
Can you speak on this and how, about the multiculturalism in your sound?
Yeah, how that happened, man. Like, I'll tell you, like, kind of the whole story was when I first made those first 2 records, they were straight just like techno electro tracks, you know what I mean, that anybody could do, you know what I mean? So Mike was like, well, cool, anybody can do that shit, so, show me your personality, show me your roots, you know what I mean? And at that time, I was always kind of like into the Red Planet stuff, which is like the Indian stuff, you know what I mean? So Mike was like, yeah, you're Albanian, man, put some Albanian shit in there. And I was like, damn, I never really even thought about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he's like, yeah, show people your personality, your roots, your culture, and so you can stand out a little bit. Because he says anybody can make techno and electro. You know what I mean? Right. So what makes you different from the next? You know what I mean? As a plus, he says you're coming from Detroit, so you even got a more of an uphill battle competing with the rest of the world. So at that time, I was like, cool. So from Motec 2 to 3, I kind of so I didn't. I'm still learning. I don't know shit about making music. I'm just kind of going off of experimenting, really, So Motec 3, I figure, okay, I can't play this shit, so let me sample some shit. So I just sampled some Albanian vocals. So that's how, like, that kind of started from there. So if it, like, really wasn't for Mike and Gerald pushing me into the direction, you know what I mean, I wouldn't even really got into putting that sound in there, you know what I mean? So basically, like, the Drume track was the first one. That was the one where I sampled a real famous Albanian singer. You know what I mean? Nikola Nikpreljaj from Yugoslavia. Like, he's like the famous singer, real cool guy. So I hit this famous track. that he's speaking about like this village where my parents come from. And he's like celebrating like the way he's saying it.
Yeah.
So I just hit that. I'm like, man, if I'm gonna hit something, I'm gonna hit something where if Albanian or somebody from Yugoslavia hears it, they're gonna be like, oh shit. And that's the total reaction I got out of the record. So anytime anybody played it, if there was an Albanian in a crowd or somebody, they would hear and go like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm hearing. So they'd run up to the turntable and look at it, and that's what happened every time I played it.
Right.
So then I went, oh shit, I'm onto something. So from there, I just kept, learning more about music and fusing, drums, or some of the stuff's not so obvious. It's just drum patterns or the rhythms of how they're doing it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I was doing that, and that's what I continue to do. So not only just like the Albanian rhythms, but like Indian stuff and Greek stuff and odd signature stuff like that. So yeah, and Mike and Gerald helped me along the way.
But you were born in Detroit. Now let's get that.
Yeah, I was born in Hamtramck, right around the corner.
Yeah, well, right next
Detroit,
door.
Yeah.
But so the question comes to my mind is, what kind of music did you? I mean, evidently you grew up with the Albanian music in your own home.
Yeah, for sure.
What other music kind of did you grow up with?
Yeah, because when I grew up in Hamtramck, man, there was a lot of Albanians, Polish. Then when I got a little older, there was a lot of Indians and Arabics moving into the area. So I grew up on all that music as far as like the cultural stuff, you know what I mean? So I always grew up on like, friends of mine, Arabic friends of mine, I'm in their car, they're rocking Arabic music, you know what I mean? So I always heard all that stuff, Arabic stuff, Indian stuff, and then Albanian stuff mainly. But it was mainly the Arabic and the Albanian stuff I grew up on. Then of course, outside of that, like, hip hop and R&B was like my first love was that stuff, you know what I mean? So, always listening to Mojo.
For someone to identify like the sound for somebody who's not Albanian, what kind of special sound is it that Albanian music has? Lots of strings, drums. What is?
Yeah, it's really a lot of drums. So it's a lot of like tribally drums, but the main instruments is two instruments. It's a 2-string guitar. Which, you know, when you say 2-string, people be like, what? You know, like, what can you make with a 2-string guitar?
Is that the ute, or is that something like a ute?
Yeah, it's called a chuteri, so it's like it's a long neck guitar with a small bottom like this, and it's played really fast, you know what I mean? So it plays as the lead. And then there's another instrument called the luhate, which is almost like a violin, like a small cello, like a really mini cello that plays like a droning, like low-end sound, so that's what they use. Yeah, with a bow. That's what my dad actually plays that instrument. So that's what and I use that in one of my tracks as well. My dad's the one playing on it.
What track is that?
Shupe.
Shupe.
Yeah. And I actually took that sound and put it on top of the track, basically. You know what I mean? And that's my dad playing it.
Any other musicians in your family?
No, that's it, man. Nobody's. I'm like the oddball of that's like totally
your dad
into music.
Plays,
well, my dad played, but you know, growing up there, I think everybody played. You know what I mean? Because it was a village and shit. That's all you did was play instruments. There was nothing else to do.
Your blog on the Motec MySpace, you have links to where you host Six Mix show on BBC Radio 1.
Right.
Can you tell us some about that?
Yeah, the Six Mix show is a show that they ask, I guess, certain producers or DJs or whatnot, just artists, to host this 2-hour time slot. It's really for, I think, I don't know how they choose, you know, who does it, but I mean, I felt honored to do this shit because I mean they had like Carl Craig and Laurent Garnier and some like huge name dudes like before me, so I was like, damn, they asked me to do this show, right? But I think it was kind of because of the album was just coming out over there at that time. So the promotion was on it. So, and I was there playing. Me and James Pennington were playing at Fabric that weekend. So they had asked me to do the show. I was like, cool. And they said, well, this is how the show goes. It's 2 hours and it's 30-minute slots. And they broke it down like, play anything you want. It's up to you. But we prefer, you know, the first 30 minutes is like the new hot shit. The next 30 minutes is a 30-minute mix. So, you know, I just did a live mix there. The next 30 minutes was like my influences, so the stuff I grew up on. And then the last 30 minutes was like, they said anything but dance floor, so I just played like all down-tempo stuff. Or, you know, offbeat shit. So luckily for me, I had that stuff in my DJ bag, so I kind of got lucky, you know what I mean? I usually take a lot of that stuff with me anyway, but at that time, and yeah, it was a cool show, man. They just said, you know, they just pressed record and play and said go, and then they just, you know, had me read certain things, you know, where I do the little drops of the names, like, you know, if you need a track listing, go to BBC, blah, 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 you know what I mean, name the show, and man, it was cool. I mean, it was 2 hours, and I just got to do whatever I want and say what I wanted, and they didn't care what I said. They just said, there you go, just go. And they just edited the rest, you know what I mean, as far as putting the show together. It was dope, man.
How long did it take you to put the show together? Because it's a 2-hour show, but we know it took longer than 2 hours to do.
They actually had asked me, they said, you can actually do it yourself at home if you have time, if you wanted to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you were touring, right?
I was touring, and I said, well, I'm not at home. So they said, you know, then when they knew I was going to, you know, be there, they said, oh, you can just do it live, but this 2-hour show will take probably 5 hours.
Yeah.
And that's what it did. I mean, I was there from like 12 to 5:30.
Now, when you were touring through Europe, and you got to Albania, what was that like?
Albania was crazy, man. Because you know what, you know, like for me, a lot of things I believe, you know, shit happens for a reason. You know what I mean? So, and there's a lot of struggling that goes on with me for anything I do. It seems like there's always some little roadblock in a way. You know what I mean? In the Albania thing, I almost didn't even make the gig because I was coming from Belgium. So the thing was, like, as soon as I got done with this Belgium gig, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I had to get on a flight, so we went straight to the airport. So I had to go like Belgium to Italy to Albania. Well, the Belgian plane didn't take off because something was wrong with it. So then we all had to get off the plane. So basically check it out. This was 5 in the morning. My time slot at this Albania gig was the next day at 1 a.m. I didn't get to the gig until 12:45 because planes were getting canceled. One plane almost crashed and shit. And Man, that was just so much shit. I spent like 10 hours just in the airport with delays and planes not working right, and I was like, oh man, my one time I get to go to Albania and I'm not even going to catch this gig. And I was supposed to be there at like 11 o'clock in the morning. But when I got there, craziest thing, man, because that shit's like the third world country, man. So like seeing it was crazy because the airport is about as big as this building. It's that small, you know what I mean? So when I got out, I mean, it was just it's just fucking rocks and boulders. I mean, shit looked like a bomb hit the place, you know what I mean? So the city's still rebuilding. It's because it's still kind of poor. So I was in the capital, Tirana. So it was like a half-hour drive, and I'm just like looking out the window the whole time, like, damn, this is what it's like here, you know what I mean? So it's a real poor country, so I was honored they even could afford to even bring me to come play, to be honest with you, you know what I mean? But the party was great, man. It was like, I didn't even know anybody there, but it was like my whole family was there. It was almost like a family reunion, because they were all like greeting me with open arms and shit, and were like cheering and shit. I was like, what the hell's going on, man? It bugged me out. It made me feel uncomfortable, because I was like, I'm just like a DJ, man, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but your family, I mean, you know.
Yo, but I didn't know nobody there, man. You know what I mean? But they were all like, it was like the fucking president came in that motherfucker, man. They were cheering and shit.
Yeah.
They just banner across the street with my name on it. So I was just like, dang. But like, my man was telling me, he's like, man, we don't get anybody from Detroit, let alone an Albanian DJ from Detroit. So, you know, especially being affiliated with Submerge and shit. So it was a totally touching experience, man. And the cool thing was, it was like in this park, like outside. Like around this like in-ground pool and shit, like this public pool or something. It was beautiful weather. It was like today. It was nice. I mean, man, this shit was cool. But unfortunately, I played in Albania. There's only like one flight a week. So the flight was an hour after I played. So there was like no time for any delay. So I had to like leave immediately after, and I almost missed the flight. I see, if I would have missed it, I would have been there another week, and I had another gig the next day.
Oh man.
But man, the gig was crazy, man. It was just so good. I mean, everybody was super cool.
Plan on going back soon?
Yeah, man. I mean, I told them, I just said, if I'm over here, just fly me over. I just, you ain't got to pay me to play, man. Just bring me over to play or whatever I got to do. I just want to come back over and play. You know what I mean? And this time when I go back, I want to stay, you know what I mean? Like a week if I can.
Oh, your parents must be really proud of that.
Yeah, and actually next month, November 25th, I'm going to play like near the city where my dad is from in Yugoslavia, well, Serbia, Montenegro. So I'm going to play there as well. I'm going to play in Belgrade, which is not that far from where like my dad grew up. So that's going to be cool, because I'll probably see some people I know there.
What's your favorite place to play in Europe, though? I mean, I'm obviously, of course, playing there, but I mean, where else did you like playing in Europe?
Oh man, I wonder if it's going to give me some trouble, man. I don't know, man. I don't have no favorite place there. I haven't really played anywhere.
But you were received well everywhere you went, though.
Yeah, everything's cool. Like probably, maybe I played at the Rex Club once. That was pretty dope. Me and James Pennington played there. That was a dope party. So the reaction was really cool there.
Now, do you prefer the clubs over the festivals? Or?
Yeah, any day. I'll take a club, small party, warehouse, some house or some shit. Yeah, man, festivals are festivals. They're all just there partying anyway, so that it is what it is, because they're not there to come see you or your label or your whatever. They're just there because it's a big-ass festival, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Now, what about the United States, though? Yeah, I mean, have you played any place other than Detroit recently, or did you? Yeah,
I played Minneapolis last weekend for my friend, this dude Zach, that owns this club, Foundation. That's actually, he just opened it like 3 months ago, or not even 3 months ago. Yeah, about 3 months ago. In Minneapolis. Minneapolis is a real cool city.
Minneapolis is a great music town.
Very great music town, and big on Detroit music too. They're just big on electronic music, but like for example, like his opening night was Derek May played. You know what I mean? So they always bring Detroit people. Like Mike Huckabee's playing the week after me, and so on. It's all Detroit, like on this Friday night, and that was a cool party. Yeah, but the U.S. I would say there outside of Detroit. I played in other cities, but it wasn't nothing special.
On the Discogs site, it says that your choice of weapons are Detroit Electronic Soul.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's also on your MySpace Motec site, it says, we speak your language.
Right.
Can you talk about those two?
Both things, yeah. Electronic Soul part, Detroit Electronic Soul was just, I don't even know where the hell that even came from. I don't even know how I even said that, but it was just a thing where when I was growing up just buying the music, when I first got into DJing, like when I would go to clubs, like for example, when I would go to like St. Andrews before I was even legal to get in, so I would always hear cats just dropping these tracks and I never knew what they were, so after a while I'm like, screw it, man, so I'd stand next to the DJ and take notes, you know, so I'd take a pad and a piece of paper, someone to do it and be playing it, I'd watch that damn thing go around, write it down. I'm like, cool, so the ones I liked I would write down, and then I'd go to a record store and say, hey man, you know, I need these on CD. So they were like, oh, you know, this stuff's only on vinyl. I was like, damn. So after a while I had to keep buying the vinyl. I was like, damn, I gotta get a record player. And you know, well, I had a record player, then they're like, you know, I went from there and gradually, you know, turntables. But anyway, I noticed that I was always buying Detroit stuff, you know what I mean? So like after I got like familiar and learning the records in the catalog and like Mike Huckabee and them at the record store would be like, you know, if you like this, you'll like this, and if you like that, you like this, and it always ended up being the Detroit area of the store.
Who were some of the artists you really got into?
Always got into like a lot of the UR stuff, but even like Carl Craig stuff, all the early Transmat stuff, you know, Suburban Night stuff, Derek May stuff, even like, you know, the Icon and Salsa Life, you know, all that shit, everything from that to, you know, Juan stuff, of course, man. You know, Juan stuff was like, besides the UR stuff, Juan stuff was like some of the earliest stuff I bought. I didn't really care who it was, as long as it was I liked it, I bought it and played it, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, but you find yourself sometimes buying the same artist over and over again sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah. For the longest time, like really, you know, not because I'm affiliated with Submerge and UR in them, but it was just like, you know, UR was always good for dropping the record. I mean, if they put a new record out, you just bought it. It was just like that. Everybody just went and just bought it. If it was on the wall, you just bought it. You didn't listen to it because you just knew it was going to be good. And it's been like that forever. You know what I mean? A lot of people now are like, oh, it's not like that anymore. I mean, you know, I still play all the new shit, so.
Well, UR just came out with their new Interstellar Fugitives too.
Right.
And you have a track on there called Merchants of Identity.
Right.
And a lot of people on the internet have written that this is a very special track because you're not usually using your regular 4/4 count.
Yeah.
But you've also mentioned that you freak with the counts and everything as well. That most people are used to hearing on Motown.
Right.
Can you tell us why and what is so different and special
about that track? The track, when Mike was doing the project, you know, and he was getting tracks from everybody, he says, you know, I really don't want no dance floor music. You know, I got enough of it. You know what I mean? But I had given him like maybe like 4 songs, and then he was like, he liked 2 out of the 4 he really liked, and one was a dance floor track, and he was like, well, I don't really want any dance floor tracks. I got enough of them on the project already. Well, actually, let me step back. Even before he said that, he said, you know, I don't want too much dance floor stuff. I want this type of stuff. Just, you know, I know how Mike thinks, you know what I mean? Mike wants some different shit that he hasn't heard before, different style or something. Mm-hmm. And knowing the Interstellar 1, I knew the concept already for 2 because he already explained it. So I kind of went into it like, all right, I'm just going to do something that I usually don't do. And at that time, I was kind of already thinking like I didn't want to do any just straight dance floor music. I wanted to chill out for a while and just make some, you know, 120 beat stuff and kind of like broken beat hip hop inspired stuff, you know, down tempo shit. And that was the first one that came out of when I started doing it. So I was like, you know, I sent him these, and I kind of knew he would like that one, and I was like, so that's the one he chose. He said, this, you know, this one's the hot one. You know, I'll take this one.
And Merchants of Identity, what does that mean?
Merchants of Identity, that's why it says Merchants of Identity, the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So if you think about like, it's got a bunch of meanings, kind of. It's like a Merchants of Identity. So it's like, you know, the merchant that works at like the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So Merchants of Identity. So he's kind of like the guy that would help bring people over to the U.S. or wherever, like illegally. Mm-hmm. Get IDs and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, fake IDs, you know, the green card, social security number type thing. He's just a regular old man merchant working at the marketplace, and you know, at the marketplace, it's always hustles going on.
Right.
Other than if it's a fruit market, it ain't just fruit going on there. You know what I mean? There's weapons and shit, and who knows, God, what else going on. So that's kind of why that got titled that way. And if you listen to it, you can hear like it's kind of almost like if you walk through a marketplace. Remember the sounds you hear, you know what I'm saying? Because there was always some crazy shit somebody's playing with their little radio next to their booth and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
What is the very, very first production that you produced for Submerge?
Music-wise?
Yes, music-wise.
Was on my own label, which was Motec 2.
Okay.
Which was the stand alone track, and I can't remember what the hell's on the other side. The other tracks that are on that record. That was the first thing I did. The first track I got my hands on where I just helped out was on Motec 1, which was actually produced by Paris, the Black Pooh from which most people don't even know, because we just figured we just wanted to put an alias on it. So Paris from the Grand Poobahs produced that track. So that was like the first one we got out. But my first production was really Motec number 2.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what do you see for the future? Like, what are your future goals for Motec?
Oh, man. A lot of good stuff. Just, but right now I'm almost actually finished with another album, because as I've been traveling. Well, I spent 2 months in Japan.
When do you have time?
Yeah, it's just been busy since May. Like, before that, it was kind of like some gigs were every month, you know what I mean? But it just picked up kind of like after this last mix CD and then the album. So
how close are you with this next album?
It's almost done. I was telling my man Cliff right here that like when I was in Japan, I stayed at my friend's house, so he had a studio. So when I wasn't DJing, I just made music every day. So now I got all the songs in my house, and I'm just mixing everything right now. So I'm in the final stages. I probably have the whole thing mixed next month. But when it'll come out, I'll wait. Just, this album just came out, so I'm just like making music just to have it ready.
So were you like all over Japan, or were you centrally located? And...
Well, I stayed in Kobe, Japan, at my friend Ish's house. That's my brother over there that pretty much took care of everything that Submerge does now. You know what I mean? So yeah, I played like 12 cities, man. So I went from all the way from south.
Wow.
So I went all the way as far as down as like Hiroshima, all the way to Sapporo. So it was like 12 cities, man. It was cool.
You're very well traveled.
man, it was. I ain't complaining, man. It's better than a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? I get to DJ and fucking travel the world. I mean, what else could I ask for and get paid to do it?
Right.
How's the food?
Oh, I love it, man. Food is good.
International cuisine galore.
Yeah, I know, that's right.
I don't know what half that stuff is I'm eating, but you know what I mean? But they got some crazy stuff over there. But I try to stick with what I know, though.
When you're in a spot that long, though,
yeah,
does it kind of like affect your psyche when you're doing the music? I mean, does it kind of like it kind of seeps into the music a little bit?
Yeah, it just depends. I'm a kind of guy too. Like, I don't like wake up and just go to the studio and go, what the hell am I going to do today? It's like, I try to get inspired by something. It could be something, anything. You know what I'm saying? Reading a book, watching TV, a girl. You know what I mean? It just depends. Food. You know what I mean? Just whatever. It's like the weirdest things for me. So that's how I get inspired to make music. So if I'm in Japan, like the stuff I made in Japan. Yeah, a lot of those tracks, I mean, if they didn't have my name on it, you probably wouldn't even think it was me. Just because it's way different.
I'll stand alone and feel the presence of many. I stand, I feel the presence of alone.
I started conceptually thinking of what I was going to do for this next album while I was there, because all these different sounds I was using and stuff too. So I pretty much got the concepts done and everything. I'm just mixing the album now and putting it together like where I want each track.
You rather do concept type of pieces,
as
opposed to just like throwing tracks out there and saying this is it?
Yeah, exactly. Like when Natalie asked like about like what's the future of Motec, is I don't want to just like do 12 inches. you know, I don't mind doing 12 inches, but there's more to me than making 12-inch records and like making just the songs, you know what I mean? Like that stuff I like to make just for the club, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of other stuff because I'm a hip-hop guy, I'm a soul guy, you know what I mean? So I want to make stuff that people can just listen to. So I like to conceptually put together an album, you know what I mean, beginning to end. I mean, to kind of tell a story, give some dance floor stuff as well, but also some down-tempo shit, some stuff you can vibe on, some like atmosphere type stuff, whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Franki, for sharing with us.
Yeah, of course.
You are listening to interviews with Magic Mike and Natalie Chicky of Franki Juncaj. Also known as DJ 3000.
Thank you.
Franki, it's good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks for having me. Cool.